Hi everyone, I'm Eric from Lonesome Reader, and it is December. It is time to settle down with some nice books to read over winter. And I have this month, I think, what the shortest book haul that I've had in ages, because in December not many books are published. A lot of books that come out are just sort of like holiday books and stuff. But I do have three books that I was sent, which I'm very excited about. Two very big books and one very small book. The first one I'm going to talk about is Siri Hustvedt's book of nonfiction, and it's called A Woman Looking at Men, Looking at Women. And Siri Hustvedt is a really interesting writer. I've read several of her novels, and her last novel, called The Burning World, was one of my favorite books of the year a couple years back when it came out in 2014, I think. And this is a book of nonfiction essays on art, sex, and the mind. She covers a lot about writing and philosophy, and she's a really intriguing, interesting, engaged thinker, and really fun to read, has a really fun perspective on art and thinking in the mind and the way we live now. So she's a writer I'm really excited about, and this is being published by Scepter Books. So I'm very excited about this book, even though it's very long. So it's some of those like essays that you can just sort of dip in and out of. Next is How to Survive a Plague by a writer named David France, and this is another nonfiction book. And it's an account of the 80s and the era of AIDS. David France moved to New York City in '79, I think, and which was just the start of the AIDS epidemic. So he witnessed the whole thing, and he worked as a reporter. So he was covering it a lot, and he was engaged in it a lot. He knew a lot of the people at the center of the activism. As you probably know, when AIDS first came about, nobody understood what was happening. There was a real scramble for information and action. And this is the story of how activists and scientists tamed AIDS. That is the subheading of the book, because it was really a grassroots movement that rose up to take care of this disease, which was plaguing the community, which was killing first hundreds and then thousands of people. And there was a horrible lack of response from the government and the medical community in taking care of this problem, because there was a huge stigma attached to it, because the majority of people afflicted with AIDS were gay men. And politicians and the medical community and faith organizations refused to deal with it. They just condemned the people who were afflicted with it and said that this is what you deserve. And it's incredibly shocking that this is what took place. And so this is a really detailed inside account of that whole movement. And it is absolutely fascinating. I'm about halfway through reading this. It shows how we need to be engaged as citizens to fight for our rights, to fight for our lives when necessary. And I think this is going to be really important to remember in the coming years, when we are stuck living under conservative governments who probably aren't looking out for our best interests. We need to look out for our best interests, and we need to pull together as a community to make our voices heard. So I think this is a really important book, not only as an account of the really heroic acts of really just a few people who fought to find a way to fight AIDS, but also as a guide of how to live as engaged citizens in the world. So this is a really interesting, important book. And finally, I have this very slim, small novel called Margaret the First by Danielle Dutton, and this is published by Scribe Books. And it's a short, only like 160-page novel about a real historical woman named Margaret the First. And I'll just read you the blurb. I don't usually read blurbs, but I think this gives a good account and why it makes her sound so intriguing. When Margaret Cavendish addressed the Royal Society in 1667, Samuel Pepys recorded that her dress was so antic and her deportment so unordinary that I do not like her at all. And indeed, here vividly brought to life by Danielle Dutton, the shy, gifted, and wildly unconventional Duchess is wholly unordinary, and all the better for it. Exiled to Paris at the start of the English Civil War, Margaret meets and marries William Cavendish, and with his encouragement begins publishing volumes of poetry and philosophy, which soon become the talk of London. After the Restoration, upon their return to England, Margaret's infamy grows. She causes controversy wherever she goes, once attending the theatre with breasts bared, and earns herself the nickname Mad Madge. So she just sounds like an absolutely fascinating woman, a fascinating historical figure that's probably long been like misunderstood. And so I love when these sort of marginal figures from history are brought to life in a novel. So I'm very excited to read this. Now, next, going into December, I get that sort of panicky feeling that it's the end of the year and there's all these books that have been published this year which I haven't read yet. I do read really actively. I counted up. I've read 105 books this year so far, and the majority of those are new books that have been published in 2016. But there are so many other books that I've been wanting to get to read which I haven't read yet. So I want to show you this pile of books so I can get your advice. Let me know which of these books you think is the most exciting. Here are books that I received in 2016 and which I haven't had a chance to read yet. So have a good look through this pile. Have you read any of these books? Have you heard about them? What do you think of them? If you've read any of them and they stand out as your top books of the year, please let me know. Then I can prioritize these and try to read them before the end of the year. I don't know, I know it's a sort of silly feeling to get this panicky thing that like I have to read these books before the end of the year. But you know, I like when I come to the end of the year and I'm making my favorite books of the year list. I like it to be a really comprehensive list considering everything that's been published, and I know that there's lots of great books that have been published that I haven't had a chance to read yet, but nevertheless I want to try to be as inclusive as possible in my list, so I really try to prioritize the best of the best towards the end of the year to read, to catch up on everything that's been published. So let me know in the comments below. So as you can see, just a few books to read before the end of the year. I wish more than anything that I could just take December completely off and not do anything except for sit inside and just read all day. I know everyone gets excited about Christmas parties and stuff, and but I find that whole like rush to like, oh, we have to have a drink before like Christmas or the New Year, or oh, we have to see each other before Christmas. I find that all a bit exhausting, and I'd rather just stay inside with a good book. Obviously, I'm a bit of an introvert and a recluse, so not much Christmas cheer for me. I do get really excited about Christmas and love being around family and my boyfriend, and you know, we have a great time, and yeah, it's all going to be really good. But yeah, I love snuggling inside with a good book. So let me know what you've been reading, what you'd like to read before the end of the year, and definitely please let me know your opinions about the books I have left to read, if you think I should put any of them first to read before the end of the year. So thanks very much for watching, everyone. Happy reading, and I'll see you next time. Bye.